Hey guys, what's up? So today I am gonna kind of share with you some kind of personal details about my life, I guess. I've kind of wanted to make a video on this for a while now. I've just honestly never gotten around to it, and I've never really known how to word it. So if this video is a little fumbly or kind of long, I'm sorry. I'm just playing this one by ear. So basically, as you can probably read, because I've probably put it as the title at this point, I wanted to kind of talk about what it's like for me personally living with really bad social anxiety and mild paranoia. This is something I've very much dealt with my entire life. It's not a new thing for me. I know it's in my head, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't still happen and it doesn't still affect me to some degree. Although I do know that it's in my head at this point, I have it somewhat under control. I just kind of wanted to make a video about it because I know I can't be the only person out in the world who feels this way, and maybe if you feel this way, you're gonna feel less alone from this video, so there's that. I very much think that my paranoia and my anxiety come in a pair together. I definitely think they kind of feed off of each other. I guess the first memory I have of being paranoid was whenever my whole family still lived together. We had a 3-story house in Tennessee, and I absolutely refused to take a shower upstairs if nobody else was on that floor of the house, because for some reason I thought that made me very susceptible to being murdered. Now, mind you, at this time I'm probably 5 and 6 years old, so I really hadn't seen a ton of scary movies. I don't know where these ideas came from, but for some reason I was very uncomfortable taking a shower on that story of the house if nobody else was on that story of the house, because I felt like I'm for sure gonna get murdered up here. My second memory I have of being paranoid comes from me being 8 years old. This is kind of a different form of paranoia that I've developed where I feel like I'm being watched or recorded, or people have cameras hidden somewhere in the room. And it was when I was taking a shower at my dad's house after my mom and dad had divorced, and he was just very persistent, like, you have to take a shower before we go, you have to take a shower. And for some reason that was just like really weird to me, and I was like, I don't know, I've never liked my dad or gotten along with him, and for some reason I thought he was kind of creepy. So I was like, this old creep is probably trying to like film me naked. So I searched like the entire bathroom for a camera. Of course I didn't find anything, but this is just my paranoia, obviously. And the third earliest memory I have of being paranoid is, I'm kind of explaining these because there are three different like paranoid symptoms, I guess. My third instance was in 4th grade. That was the first time I had ever had a male teacher, and it was the end of the year, and he had given me a hug goodbye, you know, whatever, no big deal. And I went home just thinking, this guy totally put a camera on me when he hugged me. Like, for sure, like, he's weird, he wants to watch me for some reason. He totally implanted some camera onto this sweater. I got rid of that sweater. I never like wore it again. I like shoved it under things so like it wouldn't be able to see me in any way. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is what I did. This is the truth. Still been paranoid about a lot of things that probably aren't true at all. I am constantly convinced that somebody is in the air vents anywhere that I go to the bathroom. I'm convinced there's people hiding up in the air ducts watching me go to the bathroom because they're weird and for some reason they want to see that. And I've also been convinced that there's cameras up in the air vents because that seems like the best place to hide something to me, I guess. And I used to not be able to use the bathroom unless the cupboard doors were open underneath the sink, so I knew no one was under there, no cameras were there or anything. I'm the girl who will look inside of every cabinet if I'm in a new place because I'm making sure nobody is in there. I know this all sounds crazy. I realize that it's crazy. I realize this is in my head. I realize that this is not a real thing. However, doesn't stop me from checking. I still have to check. Kind of relating into my anxiety now, I guess I really started noticing being very anxious around the time I was in middle school is when my anxiety really started to kind of rev up, and then high school was just a nightmare for me, but that's a whole nother story. I got really into, for some reason, I got super fascinated with Columbine. If you know what Columbine is, I'm sorry. If you don't know what Columbine is, I don't recommend looking into it. Ooh, I get like shaky when I talk about it. Columbine was, to my knowledge, one of the first mass killings at a high school, and it was terrible and it was awful, and the high school was also equipped with security cameras, so there's actual footage of this shooting that you can find on YouTube. I've seen every single video, I've heard every single 911 call that's recorded, I've seen and heard it all, which probably, honestly, in retrospect, obviously wasn't a good idea for me, because ever since then, because I don't really ever remember having this fear before that, but ever since then I've been terrified of being shot at random. So large crowds really freak me out, which is why I had such a problem with high school, is it's a huge crowd of people and I could be one at random. I live really close to Houston, which is a big city, and I never ever feel safe in Houston, especially now that I have purple hair. I feel like I'm just an easy target. I feel like I just stand out and somebody could easily see me, spot me, shoot me really fast, and that freaks me out. Not enough to dye my hair back, obviously, because I realize that this is crazy. I know it's in my head, so I can't let it affect me that much, but my anxiety gets so bad in large crowds, it's pretty bad. This is kind of the whole reason I honestly don't want a big wedding, is because the idea of everybody staring at me at one point really genuinely freaks me out. It makes me super uncomfortable. Anytime I've ever been called up for an award, whether it be like attendance, that's a joke, whether it be like whatever, anytime I've ever been called up on stage to say anything or do anything, I get super nervous. My mind just goes like 100% blank. I can't remember anything. I can't remember my own name. I can't remember, like, literally just like blank in my mind. I start to kind of panic. Recently, my boyfriend got an award, and I knew he was getting this award, and whenever they called his name, I started just like shaking uncontrollably. I was just like freaking out because I knew everyone in the classroom was gonna turn around and look at him, which means they're kind of gonna be looking at me too. And I started like shaking a lot, and I'm like trying to take photos of him for his mom, and I'm just like, can't hold this camera. Oh my God, people are staring at me. You know, that's kind of mildly awkward. I was playing bingo the other night with my friends, and my friend next to me won bingo. So I knew everyone in the bingo hall is gonna be looking over at us. So I started kind of like shaking, freaking out. Nobody really noticed. I kind of played it off. But just situations where I know a lot of people are gonna be looking at me really spikes my anxiety a lot, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and point it out. In some of the videos where I'm showing you like products up close and stuff, you'll see like my hands are shaking, and that's not something I can control. That's my anxiety, because I know people are gonna be watching this, which is, you know, it scares me, but at the same time, I'm trying to get over it. So kind of always had paranoia, so I honestly think my anxiety stems from my paranoia. Things got so bad for me in high school that I actually stopped going to high school altogether when I was around 16, and then my mom pulled me out of high school so I could finish up doing homeschooling, because there was just no way in hell I was gonna go to school. My anxiety would get so bad that I would actually physically become sick. I would get really bad stomach pains. It was just like terrible. I couldn't push through it. It was like extreme nausea that I just like couldn't work past. So eventually my mom was like, okay, you need to finish school. Let's take you out if this is gonna be the best solution. And I did. I graduated, I got my degree, everything was great and fine. The pain, the physical pain I was feeling from my anxiety was very much real at the time, and it's crazy. That did actually kind of happen to me again whenever I was working at a terrible job that I hated. I had been at this job for about 2 years and it was just awful. I really hated it. And then I started noticing in the second year that I was there, all of my anxiety was coming raging back. I was getting very sick in the morning. There were several days I had to call out of work because I was so physically sick from being so anxious I couldn't come into work. I'm 23 now, and around the time I was 14, I smoked pot for the first time ever in my life, and it seemed really awesome. It seemed really fun, like most drugs do when you first start doing them, I'm sure. I continued to smoke pot pretty heavily from ages 15 to 17-ish, probably 18-ish. Well, 18 I probably just smoked like occasionally, so like maybe like twice a month. No big deal to me apparently. Whenever I was 19, I moved to a city, Austin, that is very, very much into drug culture and things, and I became very, very prone to smoking. I was smoking pot probably every single day from the time I was 19 up until 4 months ago is when I finally decided, okay, this is enough, this isn't that fun anymore, let's quit. So for about 4 years, I was getting high every single day. And I had kind of fooled myself into thinking that was helping treat my anxiety. I was like, no, this is helping. I definitely feel much more like chill and relaxed. When in reality, it was to a degree helping my anxiety, but it was spiking my paranoia really, really badly. So I had kind of fooled myself into thinking that I was actually helping my anxiety and my problems when in reality, I was kind of making them worse just because I was spiking my paranoia so much by smoking all the time. Basically, my paranoia started to persistently get way worse. I started to kind of hear things, and I know I'm gonna sound totally crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I'm trying to be totally honest here, but I started to kind of hear things whenever I was trying to go to sleep. I would hear people talking. This isn't like I would hear clear-cut voices talking to me in my head. This is like I would hear two people having a conversation outside of my window off in the distance that I could faintly barely hear, just enough to make out that people were talking, not enough to where I could actually hear what these fictional people were actually saying. You know, at that point I would shut anything off in the room that was making noise and then like listen very closely and realize no one is talking outside of my window. There's no one outside. There's times where I've even gone outside because apparently, contrary to what I believed, is I am the girl who investigates noises, you know, in the scary movie where they're like, what's that noise? Let's go find out. Apparently I am the girl who investigates the noises. Time and time again, I realized nobody is talking, nobody is outside. It is 100% all in my head, which is crazy, I know. I mean, among many things, I'd walk into grocery stores and people would stare at me. This actually does happen because I live in a small town and I have purple hair and tattoos, which is super uncommon where I live. People do stare at me a lot. My boyfriend tells me all the time it's just because you're pretty, and I'm like, it's still kind of rude to stare at people. I'm sorry, like, you know, say something to me, but don't just like awkwardly stare at me. It's really weird. It makes me super uncomfortable. But for the longest time, whenever people would stare at me and stuff, I'd be like, what the hell is her problem? Like, what? God, I can't like walk here? Good Lord, like what is going on? So I'd get like super revved up. I'd get super anxious. I'd get super testy. I was super easily agitated, I guess is a good way to put it. About 4 months ago, I decided I needed to stop doing drugs. It's not a good thing to do. It kind of kills you no matter what it is, even though I considered, you know, pot to be pretty harmless. It wasn't doing good things to me mentally, so it was definitely time to stop. So I decided to quit, and ever since then, things have been kind of weird. I definitely have realized a lot of the things I thought were being revved up are actually just in my head anyways, so that's kind of a new experience. Overall, my anxiety has gone way down. My paranoia has gone way down. Still there. I don't think it's ever gonna go away. It's always been there. I think it's always still gonna be there. However, I do not, 10 out of 10, do not recommend self-medicating for it. It really honestly made things worse for me when I thought it was making it better. It was totally making things worse. So just for that reason alone, I won't ever do drugs again. I'm crazy enough, as they put it. The whole reason I wanted to make this video and be so candid and be so honest is because, like I said, I know I'm not the only one out there who feels this way or thinks this way. I wanted to make this video just for the sake of maybe helping one person out there. So if you did get anything out of this video, please let me know. That would seriously make my day. That would make all of this worth it. I feel like I'm kind of taking a risk making this video just because, first off, very few people know that I've been living with paranoia my entire life. Second off, pretty much a lot of people also don't know that I've lived with severe anxiety my entire life, or even what it has stemmed from and why I'm so afraid of big crowds and being stared at, things like that. And third off, a lot of people didn't know that I was kind of a heavy drug user for about 4 years, so that's kind of really embarrassing, honestly, but Like I said, I just wanted to be as candid and as honest as possible. Let me know if you liked this video. Let me know if you have any questions or if you just need someone to talk to. Please, like, honestly, feel free to message me on here. I will never be offended. I will never be annoyed. And thank you guys so much for watching. This has kind of helped calm me down a little bit, and I do really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.